feel it? Can you see it? Can you hear it? Can you smell it? Can you taste it? Do you sense it?
Hi, I'm Amy and this is Connect. Thank you for joining us. We are going to explore the mind-body connection, journey down the path of enlightenment together, and have a little fun along the way. Let's start by taking 3 deep breaths. We're going to use these breaths to relax our body and rewire our brain. I breathe in, I am calm. I breathe out, I am grounded. I breathe in, I am calm. I breathe out, I am grounded. I breathe in, I am calm. I breathe out, I am grounded. We have 3 guests with us today. Our topic is shamanic journeying, and we are going to be asking Wendy Halley, our shamanic healer and expert and author of a new book, The Magical Path, Conscious Dreaming Exercises for Healing and Growth. All sorts of questions about shamanic journeying. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Ron Thompson's also here, psychologist, to help us with the discussion. Hi, Ron. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Amy.
As is Sandy Morningstar, body-centered therapist. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Amy.
Well, where to begin? What is shamanic journeying? And tell us about your book.
All right. My new book, this was just released in December, and it's a workbook. This is a real hands-on kind of experiential workbook to teach people how to access the dream time when they're awake, so that they can experience themselves in a whole new way, in a really expanded way. And then also, let's see, to experience their view or experience reality in a different way too. So
My first question is,
what is shamanic journeying?
What is dream time?
Well, the dream time. Okay. So the dream time is a different aspect of reality. According to indigenous people, that there are different levels of reality, and the dream time is one of them. It's where you go at night when you dream, when you are sleeping and you have dreams. You go to the dream time. And there's a way to access this place when you are awake too, and so that's what this workbook helps you do. It's a really ancient practice. It's a practice used by shamans for tens of thousands of years, and there's lots of ways to get it. It's like a really intense form of meditation, really highly focused, but it's so entertaining that you don't realize how deeply focused you are until after the fact, and you look back on it and you're like, wow, that was really intense.
What are the benefits of entering the dream time?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is, well, there's a couple of big ones, I think. First of all, expanding your view of things, seeing that you get a broader perspective on yourself and your life and life circumstances, that is really helpful. Because sometimes I think we feel trapped in the way we look at our lives and ourselves and stuff, and this really helps broaden your view of that and gives you an element of control, a great deal of control over changing those aspects of yourself that maybe you're not happy with, or your life circumstances. You can begin the process of changing your life circumstances by going to this place. Because one of the other benefits is that, and this is going to sound really strange to a lot of people, is that when you go to this other place, you connect with helping spirits. And this is the hallmark of shamanism, is that you go into an altered state of consciousness, you travel from this reality, physical reality, to this other reality called the dream time or the spirit world or non-physical reality, and you connect with helping spirits. And they're there to offer us guidance and support and protection. And so it's one of those things that once you connect with these helping spirits, you don't feel alone anymore. You start realizing that, that you have allies that are there to help you get through difficult times and help you understand things and stuff like that.
Sandy and Ron, any questions for Wendy about?
Yeah, this sounds amazingly like the function of religion. When I think of all the religious ideas,
Well, religion or spirituality? Because this is a spirituality.
I'm thinking, yeah, both. But for me, the spirituality has to do with the attitudes of the helping spirits.
The attitudes of them. What do you mean?
Oh, well, having to do with the helpfulness of them, the kindness of them, the acceptance,
It depends on the spirit you meet. Not all of them are well intended.
Well, I'm thinking of the reason why people go to church, and those.
Well, let me clarify before you ask your next question, Amy. Is that shamanism is not a religion at all. It's a technology. It's a way to access these deeper parts of yourself. So there's no dogma attached to it. There's no rules. There's some protocol, but there's no it's a spiritual technology is how I would put it.
Okay. Sandy, any questions or?
I have experienced some of your journey work, and I think what I'd like to say about it is that we get lost in our technological society and don't experience things symbolically or mythologically or in a broader sense of the imagination for the most part. Kids in school, they sort of deal with homework and left brain stuff. Yeah. And to be able to escape that for a while so that you can rest in and relax in the exploration of the mythological and symbolic world, and to make connections with spirits and spirit guides and helpers, gives you a whole new bag of tricks with which to deal with the left brain stuff.
Absolutely. I think it's a great way to balance that other, well, just your life, so that you're not so left brain and logical, because there's nothing logical about this practice. It can sound completely irrational. I bet there's a few people right now who are watching this and thinking that this is nuts. It wouldn't be the first time I've heard that.
Under what kind of situations would someone want to explore the Dreamtime? You said to create balance. How would it create balance?
Well, by engaging that other half of your brain, the right side of your brain, and the creative aspect of yourself.
How does one begin? Do we want to give a tiny bit of the book away?
Well, yeah, sure. We can give it all away, Amy, if you like.
No.
So what I did to make this process easy is that there's many ways that shamanic practitioners have accessed the Dreamtime over the centuries. And the easiest way is using sound. And what I did was I created an audio CD that comes with the book. It's in the back of the book. That helps the reader get to the Dreamtime. So what it is, there's 2 tracks on there. There's a traditional shamanic drum beat, which is really monotonous. It's not the kind of drum beat you want to dance around to. And then there's a second track that I created using technology, which is a brainwave track. So it uses binaural beats, and it's like meditation for cheaters. So you optimally listen to that track with headphones on, and a different frequency goes in each ear, and your brain entrains the frequencies and puts you into a dominant theta brainwave, which is where you want to go when both the drum beat and the brainwave track put you into a theta brainwave, which is when you're sleeping, it's dreaming sleep, and when you're awake, it's visionary state. So that's how, I mean, pretty much everyone can do this. I mean, some people have a more challenging time doing it than other people because their brains get in the way and they start questioning, and that skeptical part of themselves kicks in. And
so the resistance will impede.
Indeed, it will, yeah.
What happens next? So we've got the CD in and we're listening to the sound that's going to put us in the theta brainwave, and how does then one explore?
So the book, what I did was I wrote some very brief introductory chapters to kind of set the stage for the exercises. The book is mostly exercises. There's like 20 exercises in there that you follow, and you can do them over and over and over again, but the first time through you should start with the first one and then, you know, go through them in order because each one builds on the previous one. So I didn't want to engage the left brain too much. So that's why I left the beginning chapters really brief, just to kind of get you into that mode, kind of plant some seeds so that you're not thinking too much, so you can get right into the exercises. And so, you know, it kind of takes you through step by step. You know, what do? You listen to you find a nice space, you put on the audio CD, whichever track you want to listen to. Maybe light a candle, maybe burn some sage, you know, create a little ritualistic process that you go through before you do an exercise. Because the more you do it, the
faster you'll get into theta state.
Exactly, because now when I smell sage, I start altering, because I've been doing it for so many years.
Explain to me and the audience some experiences that people have in the dream state that help them have more balance and make significant changes in their life. Something that has happened in your life and someone you know, something you make up as an example, whatever would be most helpful to you.
Off the cuff, let's see. I can think of, well, I'll give a general example. One of the first exercises you do is you create your inner garden. This is kind of the foundational place in the Dreamtime that you always go to, and you start every journey from there. And that garden is really important information about you, because everything in that garden represents an aspect of you and or your life experience, so it's symbolic. Everything can be communicated with, and so you can go in and you can, you know, in your mind's eye, you access this inner garden, and let's say you see a bunch of thorns, or, you know, like weeds, or something that you don't want in your garden. You can have a conversation. You can have a conversation, which sounds pretty nutty, I know, but you can talk to the thorns and find out what they represent in your life, and you might find out that it represents negative thoughts that you have about maybe a workplace situation or a home life situation or whatever. And so you can actually do some guard work, and you can pull out the weeds or the thorny vines or whatever, and change the environment of your garden to make it exactly the way you want to. So when you do that, this is where the magic comes in, is that when you change something in the dream time, something in your physical life will change in response.
So
speechless. You're speechless.
I am speechless. So if you pull out the weeds or communicate with the weeds and clean up the garden, then potentially you're going to get out of a sticky situation that you were in, or you're going to find the answers to solve a problem in your life, or it's going to help you decide to leave a job that you're meant to leave.
I think you can do any of that. I also think it takes some time to get to the point where you have that level of mastery. Like your very first journey into your garden, you're probably not going to have the understanding of every element of it, what it means and what it represents in your life, right then and there, that you can just go in and change it and miraculously change your life in response. I think it takes some time.
Wendy, I have a question. When you go into the garden and you're rearranging the garden or changing it like that, are you not exercising a wonderful sense of choice? You know, it's like a wonderful creative act, and then when you go back into your daily life, don't you just take that with you? And it's so empowering.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, this is the ultimate in control. I mean, what we actually do have control of are the things, I believe, internally, and this is a great exercise in taking control of yourself, of your thoughts, of your reactions, your feelings, your actions, all that stuff.
Yeah. And exercising choice. Within the framework of the work that I do, choice is the primary.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
The primary function. So when you're going into this world of your own creation, and you're going in and you're exercising choice, then that's just a whole empowering skill set that you take back into your daily.
It gets a little more complicated, though. Yeah, because it's later on in the workbook, you have an opportunity, because the spirit world has layers to it itself. And you get to travel to the upper worlds and the lower worlds, and your garden is in the middle world of this other reality. And one of the things you get to do is you get to meet your higher self. You get to meet your oversoul, what we would call. And in doing that, you might discover that there's a blueprint for your life, or for your soul's existence in this human incarnation. And so there's kind of that, you get to see the interplay between what might be destined, and then how your free will plays into that, and the choice plays into that, and whether or not you decide to follow your path once you discover what it is, or not. That's where it gets a little more complicated.
Back to the simplicity of the garden. Do you always find that you show up in the same garden, or can you, in your connection with the Dreamtime, suddenly find yourself in a garden that's totally different from the one you experienced yesterday? And what is that about?
I think that's an excellent question. Yes, you can experience changes in your garden. Sometimes they're really subtle. Like you might enter your garden and notice that there's a new element there. You can add things to it too, like a hammock, or if you want a tree in a certain spot, you can put a tree there. One of the things that happened to me, and what I've heard has happened to other people who've done this work over a period of time, like it's a practice, a regular practice in their lives, is that this happened to me 2 years ago. Is I went into my garden and it started to rumble, and the ground started to break apart, and my garden collapsed and it disappeared, and I was panicked because I was very drawn and very attached to my garden. But then by the end of the experience, a new garden emerged, and how I interpreted that was that it was in response to my own personal changes. I was evolving, and this new garden approached, or a new garden appeared. And that's one of the things that happens when you have a practice such as shamanic journeying or conscious dreaming, or whatever you want to call it, is that when you have experience in the transpersonal realm, you change. You can't help but change. You just, that's what happens.
Change how?
You change, you become, hopefully, more self-aware, more compassionate, more sensitive, more psychic, more intuitive.
I think your belief patterns change,
Yeah,
too.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's just an added dimension to living. You're allowing that dimension into your life.
Exactly.
Since you mentioned it, I wanted to ask anyway, shamanic journeying and psychic experiences, how are they similar and or different?
Well, that's a big question. So in the Dreamtime, in this other reality, time is much different. It's all one kind of giant moment. So you have access to the past and the future. So you could have, you could have, maybe glimpses of something that happened in your past and get a different viewpoint of it, or even a past life you could get a glimpse of. Possibly the future of this life or another future life. You could glance that. I think sensitivity-wise, you become a lot more sensitive, so that there's another layer of reality that's in between. This is going to sound, again, kind of unusual, but between the dream time and physical reality, this earthly reality that we live in, that's more of an energetic realm, and that's the realm of psychic experiences. It's the subatomic, the quantum level, I would call. And when you start hanging out in the dream time a lot more, then I think you become a lot more sensitive to that terrain, that psychic terrain, and you can become more empathic, or more you might be able to
intuitive.
Yeah, definitely more intuitive. You might be able to know something is going to happen before it happens, or have be able to pick up on somebody's thoughts before they speak them.
So I had an experience. I was listening to the drums, and this was many years ago, and I had someone that I loved who was dying of cancer, and I was curious. I didn't know a lot about, this was before I met you, Wendy, so I didn't know much about shamanic healing, but I had read a book and had the tape, and so I put the drums on, and I had this experience that appeared to last about 5 minutes. It was really 60 minutes, but it felt like 5 minutes. And I went through the body of the person that I was concerned about, and I saw cancer in the area that I knew she had cancer. And it just showed up as a light. And then I saw cancer in 2 other parts of her body. And then the journey was over, and I didn't know what to think of it. And the next day I got a phone call from a family member saying that they had just found cancer in those 2 other parts of her body.
Yep, that can happen. I mean, that's getting
And I did not take the drums out again for many years.
Yeah, that could be.
That was all I could handle for the time being. It was very intense. It was shocking to me.
Well, that's
at
that's
the time
the realm of using this practice for healing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what you're capable of, is seeing disease in people's bodies, and all manifestations of all kinds of things. You see it, symbolically in the dream time.
This has been a healing technique that even our medical science embraces.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, I had been, I think it was on one of Carolyn Mace's tapes. She told a story about a little boy who had an inoperable brain tumor. And it was suggested to him that he find some way to contact that brain tumor every day. So he became Luke Skywalker, who was his idol at the time, in his X-Wing fighter. And he would shoot at this tumor in his brain that he called Planet Meatball. And he did this for a while, and his parents were very encouraging because there wasn't really anything else that could be done for him at the time. And one morning he gets up and he comes downstairs, and his mother said, "Did you do your visualization?" He said, "No, it's gone." And she said, well, she got a little scared because she needed him to keep doing this. But the bottom line was they took him to a doctor, and they found out that tumor was gone. And this seemed to me a beautiful example of working inside the dream time to make the kinds of choices that you want to make, to visualize your body symbolically, and to make healing decisions with the kind of fun that this kid was having, being Luke Skywalker.
That's a great story.
It is
very
a great
powerful.
Story. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's super common, though, in Western medicine for them to
No, but it has,
this.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, we often have the best outcomes when East meets West. Both have their benefits. And that sounds similar to your work in your other book, Slaying the Mouse, where you actually go into the Dreamtime to help someone heal.
Right, the young man in a coma.
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird, trippy experience I had. But yeah, that's like 98% of the narrative in that book is my experience in the Dreamtime connecting with this guy in a coma.
If someone is interested in your book, The Magical Path, Conscious Dreaming Exercises for Healing and Growth, how could they find that information?
Well, they can start on my website,
lucidpath.com.
which is lucidpath.com, and you can also get it on Amazon.
Okay. Well, we have time for one or two more questions. Anything else coming from Ron and Sandy? We have a thorough understanding of shamanic exercises.
I find that in doing this kind of work that you often have expectations of what you're going to see. Okay, I'm going to go to my garden. My garden looks like this. And then when you really get into the sound of the drumming or the sound of the theta waves, you show up somewhere different. And what you expected is not what's really happening in the Dreamtime. And I think this is really amazing that we can have a left brain expectation of what this is going to look like, and it can look totally different. And I think the joy of the work is going with the flow and seeing what's around the corner. So if there's a new rock somewhere that you've never seen before, what's on the other side of it? Allow yourself to walk around, and maybe there's an animal there. An animal you can have a conversation with. Or maybe the rock will talk to you. And it becomes totally out of the realm of the logical mind. And kind of fun.
I'm flashing on Jill Bolt Taylor's, the Harvard brain scientist who had the
stroke? Yes, my stroke of insight.
Who had my stroke of insight, yeah. And her experience with the right brain and the nirvana and the distortion of time and the imagine and how pleasant that experience was for her.
Well, yeah, getting into that gets into like the whole idea of consciousness and what is consciousness. Yeah. And, you know, is it a byproduct of our physicality? Is it our brain producing consciousness, or is it something separate from that, you know, it's complicated stuff, I think.
Well, hopefully we've helped people get very curious about the shamanic journey, and that they'll be interested in looking at your website and thinking about purchasing this workbook, because it's very fascinating, and like you said, it's for growth and healing. So thank you, Wendy, for sharing your expertise in the area. Thank you, Ron Thompson, masterforlifeperformance.com, psychologist, and Sandy Morningstar, body-centered therapist, for helping with the discussion. We're out of time. This has been Connect. Thank you for joining us. Visit our website, connectwithamymiller.com.
You can feel it. You can feel it. You can see it. You can hear it. You can smell it. You can taste it. You sense it. You are connected. 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 You are connected.